Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 490 based on novel. So let's start. How white and dazzling the two intertwining whirlpool portals were. They were unstoppable. They are so powerful. I'm afraid they are even more powerful than my door of life. The very moment Luo Feng laid eyes on destruction of reincarnation, he came to a conclusion: if I were to be struck by this technique head-on, confronting force against force, I might get injured. But I have Star Tower, so there is no need for me to meet force with force. This thought sprang to mind, but the next moment, Luo Feng's expression changed. It wasn't right. He had Star Tower, so he could hide inside. But this was the battle in which the king of the sector beasts would be born. There was no way Morosa could hide in Star Tower to avoid this battle along with him. At the moment, Luo Feng was blocking off attacks by standing in front of Morosa, but the moment he hid in Star Tower was bound to be bombarded and blasted far away upon being hit by this impact. Then he would be forced apart from Morosa. Sector Beast Mode, he could fully take advantage of this opportunity to kill Morosa in one blow. Against the combined attacks of 8 million Sector Beasts, you were still able to stay alive. Sector Beast Mode, he was looking forward to Luo Feng hiding in Star Tower. This move of mine will never be stronger than the combined attacks of 8 million Sector Beasts. However, if you are going to hide in Star Tower, the moment you are blasted away, you will no longer be able to protect Morosa. Sector Beast Mode, he was filled with eagerness. Go in. Hurry. Get inside Star Tower. The root cause of this battle was to determine who, between the two sector beasts Mohi and Morosa, who would be the final survivor. Star Tower. Luo Feng suddenly roared. Before him, a 9-story tower appeared out of nowhere. It was none other than Star Tower, which was now in a horizontal position, resembling a gigantic, pointed cone. It began instantly revolving, transforming into a long river. This long, golden river headed toward the two intertwining whirlpool portals and crashed into them without delay. After Luo Feng had created the secret technique at top tier level 12, this move was the newest set of secret techniques Luo Feng came up with upon completing his comprehension of Star Tower. Luo Feng had named it River of Stars. River of Stars against destruction of reincarnation. The dazzling golden river collapsed instantly. Star Tower, being bombarded in its entirety, was thrown far into the distance, where it tumbled away. The two whirlpool portals still seemed to be just as mighty as before as they charged straight for Luo Feng, but upon close scrutiny, cracks could be seen on the outer walls of the two intertwining whirlpool portals. Luo Feng's eyes were fixated on the two dazzling, intertwining portals. His godly power was blazing to its ultimate limit, and Wu Qi God was propelled to the 3rd level. With both hands, he held Blood Ghost Blade and hacked with his might. A gigantic, white gold door appeared in the space before Luo Feng. When the great door opened, a white gold blade light shot out right away to greet the destruction of reincarnation portal. Luo Feng was now using his strongest blade technique, Door of Life. At the moment of collision, there was silence. Loud bangs followed soon after. Endless violent bangs resounded, endless impact waves resonated. The two whirlpool portals were already crippled, yet they continued to assault Luo Feng. At that very moment, Luo Feng stood up straight. The 5 gigantic pairs of wings folded forward to form an envelope around Luo Feng, keeping him entirely within its embrace. At the same time, Sector Beast Morosa was also completely surrounded by the wings. The impact of a head-on collision threw Luo Feng far into the distance. He tumbled away at a few million times light speed. In the process of being thrown, Luo Feng could not help but spit out blood. The blood splattered all over Morosa, who was kept safe under Luo Feng's protection. Master! Morosa was agitated and worried about the strike Luo Feng had received. After a while, Luo Feng stopped tumbling. Do as I say. Luo Feng swallowed the blood in his mouth and looked at Morosa at his side. Don't get arrogant and impulsive. I have Wu Qi God and Sha Wu wings to protect my body. My body is far superior to yours. Even with this remnant of power, you will still die if you are struck by it. Morosa nodded frantically. Understood, Master. I will not do anything to foil Master's great plan. What a joke. Previously, the axe technique used by Mohi had been 10 times more powerful than destruction. It would have been enough to exterminate Morosa. Now, Mohi had divided itself in two, and both bodies were executing destruction concurrently. The subtle combination of two destruction whirlpool portals was reflected through the formation of hundreds of millions of spaces. When that happened, its power climbed linearly to reach an incredible level. Even if only a portion of this power remained, it would still be able to exterminate Morosa. Ha ha ha. Milky Way Horde Leader. From afar, the two sector beasts, both of them Mohi, flew over together. You are smart enough not to hide inside Star Tower. If you had entered Star Tower, Morosa would be dead by now. You are quite impressive, indeed. Still able to resist. But I reckon that more than half your godly power has been consumed, right? Hiding in Star Tower, you will die. If you do not go in, you will still die, and you will die at my hands. Try to receive our attacks again. Once again, the two sector beasts, Mohi and Mohi, started to execute their moves together. In the distance, Luo Feng's expression changed. His godly power was already burning at its limit. To maintain Wu Qi God at its third stage was already very taxing on his power. If it were any other ordinary true god, that godly power would most likely have been used up in a moment, but Luo Feng's godly power reserve was rich enough, so by sustaining a high degree of consumption, he could easily pull through for a long time. However, earlier on, when he had been bombarded by the remnant of destruction of reincarnation, that one hit had seriously injured him. Although it was not to the extent that Mohi imagined, where more than half of Luo Feng's godly power was consumed, he had still lost almost 30% of his power. 30% might not have seemed like much, but given Luo Feng's godly body, such a loss was scary enough. Once again, the two dazzling, intertwining whirlpool portals in the midst of void space came flying at Luo Feng. Go? Luo Feng did his best. First, Star Tower blocked off the attack. Then Blood Ghost Blade executed Door of Life again to resist. Then Shawu wings folded together to surround and protect Luo Feng. Luo Feng was thrown into the distance upon impact and tumbled far away. Fresh blood splattered. His skin was subjected to such violent vibrations that it split open, and his bones trembled just as violently. Luo Feng forced his godly body to absorb the impact of those hits so that Morosa would not be injured, regardless of how much he personally had to endure as a result. No matter what, nothing could be allowed to happen to Morosa. Not dead? The two copies of Mohi in the distance were shocked. For every single time Mohi executed the move, it was actually equivalent to using destruction twice. This consumed quite a bit of Mohi's power. Fortunately, it was a 6th stage sector beast now, and a 6th stage pinnacle one, at that. Its power reserves were enough to allow it to execute destruction several times. Every time, you will be severely injured. Sector Beast Mohi roared. Let me see exactly how many times can you take such hits. Once again, it executed its strongest move. Block, said Luo Feng. Luo Feng gritted his teeth and held on. There was no other way. Given the speed of the whirlpool portal, there was no way he could dodge. And if he hid in Star Tower, it would be no different than sending Morosa to its death. I would also like to know, said Luo Feng, whether you can execute more, or whether I can block more. Luo Feng hung on through clenched teeth. Once. Twice. Thrice. 10 times. 11 times. Still not dead. By now, Sector Beast Mohi was going completely crazy. I refuse to believe that your godly power is limitless. Meet your doom. Sector Beast Mohi was left with no choice. Luo Feng was doing all he could to protect Morosa. Even in the face of such powerful strikes, he was not dodging or hiding. Mohi really had no other choice. In this battle for the birth of the ultimate king, it had no way of backing out. For the glory of my sector beast race, Mohi's eyes were filled with madness. I must win. Human, meet your doom, The two dazzling, intertwining whirlpool portals appeared again. What I seek to protect in my heart I shall not allow to be destroyed. Luo Feng's look was just as fearsome as both his hands wielded blood ghost blade. You ought to be the one meeting his doom. 13 times, 14 times, 15 times. This was the final battle. It was the battle for the birth of the king. While it might be said that Mohi and Morosa were fighting to give rise to the final victor, the truth was that Mohi and Luo Feng were battling one another. Luo Feng was Morosa's protector. As long as Luo Feng remained alive, there was no chance at all for Mohi to kill Morosa. Conversely, with Luo Feng out of the picture, Mohi could easily become king. The 30th time. I don't believe this. I don't believe your godly power is unlimited. Sector Beast Mohi was in a state of insanity. It had used up a good half of its total power. It had attacked 30 times, which was as good as executing destruction 60 times. Why is it still able to sustain? Luo Feng wondered, his eyes bloodshot. He begrudged the current situation. He was down to 10% of his godly power. It would take only 3 or 4 more hits for his godly power to be completely used up. On the one hand, this was a pinnacle 6th stage sector beast. The power reserve of such a beast was unbelievably extensive. On the other hand, Luo Feng had a perfect godly body at a life gene level of 100,000 times. Unfortunately, there was not enough time. Luo Feng's godly power wasn't able to build up to the level of the ultimate limit. He wasn't being given any time at all. Die? Sector Beast Mohi roared. The ultimate king will not be enslaved. This was attack number 32. Luo Feng's eyes split open. Traces of blood were gushing and splattering. His entire being fell into a state of absolute madness. I must protect the ones I seek to defend. I cannot lose. I cannot. At this moment, Luo Feng was sent tumbling again. His godly power was sharply reduced, dropping to an amount that would allow him to bear just one last hit. He could sense that Sector Beast Mohi had yet to be forced into its final desperation. Yet Luo Feng had been reduced to his final stage of resistance. I cannot lose. Luo Feng fell into utter insanity. At this juncture, various scenes flashed through his mind. To help his younger brother get on his feet again, he had stolen the steel-armored dragon's egg. He had set his soul ablaze in order to perish with the devouring beasts. When he first made his way off Earth, he had proudly risen up in the universe battle of talents. He had knelt before True Yang to become a disciple of True Yang. Various scenes replayed in his mind. Sitting Mountain Guest, True Yang, Primal Chaos City Leader, and Huge Axe. Shushin, Luo Ping, and Luo Hai. Rongjun, Wu Ka, and Bolan. Their faces flashed through his mind. I cannot lose. For all the important people and things he sought to protect. Step by step, he had made his way from Earth to where he was now. He had transcended everything in his life. He had to stand by what he sought to protect. It was his responsibility. Get up. An unyielding willpower. An unmovable, steadfast willpower. For everything important to him, he burned with endlessly might willpower. At that moment, he erupted. Luo Feng's willpower finally transcended the ultimate limit of an eternal true God to reach an even higher domain. It was truly high enough to be the holy domain. As Luo Feng prepared to go into the final battle, as he was bidding his family farewell, that was when the change in his willpower had begun brewing. At that moment, for everything he sought to protect by giving his all, his willpower erupted. A breakthrough. The ultimate king can only be a free sector beast. Sector Beast Mohi felt as though it could taste victory as it witnessed Luo Feng's crazy demeanor. Go to hell. From a distance, Mohi saw Luo Feng get back on his feet and set his gaze far ahead. That look. At that moment, everything in Mohi's surroundings suddenly disappeared. Only Luo Feng's eyes, which had transformed into gigantic planets, remained, revolving and emitting endless power. An extremely acute willpower, almost like a sharp blade, pierced right through Sector Beast Mohi's willpower. Supreme Willpower Secret Technique, Linear element technique. The godly king of Jin had waited for 1,000,000,000 eras for the appearance of a being who could master linear element technique. This was a secret technique that drove many godly kings crazy. It was a terrifying technique that could annihilate even the most top-tiered talents from the ancient civilization if they merely tried to master it. To be able to master it, one's willpower had to first undergo sanctification to become holy. This secret technique was one Luo Feng had studied repeatedly umpteen times. The moment his willpower was sanctified, he would acquire all he needed to learn it instantly. The eyes of both sector beasts, Mohi and the other Mohi, went dull. Then, instantly, they lost consciousness. The few million other bodies, scattered all over universe ocean, all lost consciousness after their eyes went dull. Luo Feng pointed afar. Die? An illusory beast head appeared and instantly started boring its way into the body of sector beast Mohi. It was going to launch a direct attack at Mohi's soul. Sector beast Mohi's willpower was originally powerful, so it was able to bear the impact of ordinary soul attacks. But now, in its unconscious state, it did not have a trace of resistance. It was like a candle that could be extinguished with a single breath. There was not an ounce of resistance. Instantly, its soul was annihilated. A few million other bodies were, within an instant, all annihilated. Standing far away in the void space, Luo Feng's body trembled slightly. Soon, he lost all control. Throwing his head back, he laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha. I did it, I did it, I did it. Ha ha ha. At that moment, Luo Feng laughed as if he had gone mad. He seemed to be carried away with the laughter and completely lost all composure. He won. Finally, he had won the fight. This was the most exciting moment for Luo Feng in 1,000,000,000 eras. Back! Luo Feng pointed. Star Tower was floating up above, and the black hole at the base swallowed both of the bodies of Sector Beast Mohi and Morosa standing beside him. Morosa was a slave of Luo Feng, so he couldn't resist it at all. No matter what. Luo Feng was exhilarated, but he still kept his cool. I can't be careless and doom myself. If you want to become the ultimate king of sector beasts, make a breakthrough in my Star Tower. Mohi was dead. Morosa was the single, final sector beast. It could now evolve and become the ultimate king. The king of sector beasts was the most precious, most perfect, and most noble of them all. It represented the destruction origin of all life. It was so noble that it could rival the original universe. Luo Feng couldn't be sure that such a noble creature could be enslaved. If Morosa suddenly shook off Luo Feng's enslavement when it was becoming a king and destroyed all the races, including Luo Feng, everything would be in vain. That was why Luo Feng had put Morosa back in his Star Tower, even if he was exhilarated. Star Tower was a godly king weapon. Once Morosa was trapped inside Star Tower, it wouldn't be able to break out, as it was only a newborn king of the sector beasts. Even a sector beast who had reached its pinnacle level, one that could destroy an entire kingdom in the ancient civilization, couldn't break out, as it was only a bit stronger than godly kings. As for Morosa, it was just a newborn king of the sector beasts. If I can still enslave it, then everything will be fine, Luo Feng thought. If I can't enslave it anymore, I'll keep it in Star Tower forever until I can kill it. Although he was worried, he still believed that he was able to enslave the ultimate king. Since he had been able to enslave Morosa, it ought to be possible for him to enslave the king of the sector beasts. Besides, the final battle had been between an enslaved sector beast and a free sector beast. If the ultimate king couldn't be enslaved, there was no point for the battle. Everything has a chance, Luo Feng thought. To enslave a sector beast, someone's life gene level must attain 100,000 times to turn his godly power to the power of sector beasts. Also, he has to have exceptional willpower. Then he can actually enslave a sector beast. To enslave the king of sector beasts, he also needs to destroy the entire sector beast race. A life gene level of 100,000 times. Exceptional willpower. The destruction of the entire sector beast race. 3 conditions, and all needed to be met to enslave the king. Luo Feng had met all the criteria. If the supreme laws let Morosa shake off the enslavement at this moment, it would be unfair. At least, that was Luo Feng's opinion. Inside the space of suppression in Star Tower, the two bodies of the ferocious Sector Beast Mo he laid there while Sector Beast Morosa stood to the side. Ah! Both the heads of Sector Beast Morosa shot up. A supreme force arrived, surrounding Morosa. Luo Feng stood at the edge of the space of suppression, watching. The supreme laws? He thought. No wonder the king of Sector Beast stands in opposition to the original universe. Both of Sector Beast Mo his bodies were annihilated and vanished. All those millions of bodies of Mo he scattered everywhere immediately vanished. This surprised Luo Feng, as he'd thought Morosa was going to eat the bodies. A powerful force was born, and it infused the body of Morosa. Each force had the appearance of the Sector Beast. Even though all those Sector Beasts looked very similar, they were somehow different. Luo Feng could even identify Chi-Ya, Betty, and the other Sector Beasts he had encountered. All the forces of the Sector Beasts infused the body of Morosa. Morosa couldn't help yelling in excitement. Its body was bulging, and the bloody engraving picture on its body was getting increasingly complicated, as if an invisible hand was drawing on its body. At the same time, both the heads had a horn, and each horn was emitting white light from its tip. The forces kept coming. The forces of all the dead Sector Beasts gathered and merged with it. Soon, Morosa had reached top-tier level 6. Morosa stayed there for a long while, until the last powerful force merged in. It was the force of Sector Beast Mo He. It kept infusing. The power of all the dead Sector Beasts infused its body, which made Morosa cry out. Soon, one white character after another emerged from its body. The gleaming white characters were surrounding Morosa, so that Luo Feng couldn't even see it anymore. He could only sense that a terrifying force was reacting. Incredible. Luo Feng was thrilled. The power of all the Sector Beasts merged into one. One out of a billion Sector Beasts. Each of the Sector Beasts is as powerful as a true god. The attack of a billion true gods is more powerful than an eternal true god, yet those energies only add up to a king of Sector Beasts that has just entered its growth period. The power was there. Those gleaming white characters were dimming while new characters showed up all the time. It was as if they were telling an ancient secret. A single horrifying, destructive force was tumbling. It was the destruction origin of the supreme laws. The king of Sector Beasts represented the complete destruction origin. After a long time, the supreme law force was finally gone. The billions of characters that previously surrounded Morosa's body were gone, and only after that did Luo Feng see the appearance of Morosa. This? Luo Feng looked at the newborn king of the Sector Beasts in shock. A transparent, giant white life form was standing there. Its body was perfect. It had 2 hands and 2 legs, a mouth, a nose, and 2 eyes, but it didn't have ears. There were 2 horns on its forehead, pointing forward. It looked holy and beautiful. Even some of the most beautiful individuals of the human race, or even the alluring bug empresses, were inferior to it. It was so beautiful and natural, containing supreme mysteries. Without those 2 horns, it would have looked like an innocent and lovable child, yet with those 2 horns, it had the supreme power of the throne. King of the Sector Beasts, whispered Luo Feng. Those hideous and savage monsters, with dark skin and 2 heads. Their ultimate king is more beautiful than any creature I've seen. Even Bug Race Empress looks ugly compared to this. It was perfect. Master. The being's skin condensed into armor, and it bowed and saluted Luo Feng. Thank you for making me, Morosa, the ultimate king. Luo Feng looked at Morosa. He could sense it. It was true. His soul control was deeply ingrained in the soul of this king of the Sector Beasts. He could crush the soul of the king with one thought. Just as he had expected, after a series of tests, he was qualified to enslave the ultimate king. Morosa, Luo Feng chuckled. Now, you're more beautiful than any other creature. I can turn into any shape, and I can change the forces as well, said Morosa respectfully. Its body changed, and it turned into Divine Eye True Master. Then it turned into Rampaging Devil God. Then Hong and Primal Chaos City Leader. Even their auras were the same. Luo Feng smiled. The king of the sector beasts also had the ability to be invisible and formless. What other abilities do you have now? Asked Luo Feng. Morosa answered modestly. I still have the ability to have 10 million bodies. Besides, I've mastered the complete destruction origin, and I can keep comprehending the destruction origin so that I can be more powerful. Plus, the sector inside my body is perfected, so it can breed many powerful warriors. Warriors that are much stronger than level 6 sector beasts. Oh! Luo Feng was thrilled. Lucky him. Fortunately, he had won. If Mohi had become the king of the sector beasts, he wouldn't have stood a chance at all. The king still had 10 million bodies, while it was able to breed lots of warriors. It was amazing. Of course, the king of the sector beasts isn't almighty, said Morosa humbly. I still need to swallow lots of energies and lots of valuables to provide my warriors with sufficient vigor. Ha! There's a purple moon holy land waiting for you to swallow. Luo Feng smiled. It will be my honor. Morosa smiled. Luo Feng looked at Morosa carefully. Morosa had been reckless and grumpy before. However, it was now calm and peaceful. Apparently, its demeanor had totally changed now that it possessed the complete destruction origin. What level are you at now, compared to us? Universe Masters? True Gods? Void Space level? Or higher? Asked Luo Feng curiously. I've just entered the growth period, said Morosa. I should be at the level of Void Space according to your training system. A true god of Void Space? Luo Feng nodded. It was as he had expected. I'm different from you, Master, said Morosa. I don't have any upper limit on my power. If I can keep swallowing and comprehending, then I'll keep improving myself. I have mastered the destruction origin, so no matter how slowly I am comprehending, I'll reach the pinnacle level eventually. When I reach that level, I'll be at the same level as the pinnacle original universe, and with one strike, I'll have the power of a strike by the original universe. However, the original universe is used to breed countless lives. It can't make attacks by itself. Luo Feng was thrilled. The original universe couldn't attack on its own. However, if it really could strike on its own, given its vast volume, it could definitely reach the level of godly kings. No wonder the sector beasts were considered a catastrophe even in the ancient civilization. Only a multitude of kingdoms teaming up could resist the sector beasts. Apparently, several godly kings alone were not powerful enough to resist the army of the sector beasts. The lives of the original universe need to transcend incarnations when we reach the level of void space, asked Luo Feng. Morosa, do you also need to transcend incarnations now that you're at the level of void space? Transcend reincarnation? Morosa shook its head. Master, you are a life form of the primal universe. But I am not. The level I am at now might be the equivalent to a true god of void space level, but no one has ever forced me into transcending reincarnation. Luo Feng lamented and sighed. That was how impressive it was. Being at a comparable status as the primal universe, even the willpower of the origin would have no way of coercing it to do anything against its wishes. Let's go, Luo Feng said. You need to make a trip to Purple Moon Holy Land with me. Yes, Master. Morosa's eyes revealed a hint of anticipation. Of course, it knew what it was going to be doing. There was not a single hint of pity in Luo Feng's eyes. Previously, he'd had to deal with the sector beast crisis, so in light of the most important matters at hand, he had put all else aside. There had been no time to waste. But now, the crisis was over. Purple Moon Holy Land had constantly oppressed the humans, always trying to kill him. They had targeted him multiple times, becoming his sworn enemy long ago. And he also needed to retrieve the last component of his Shawu wings. Star Tower teleported right away and vanished within the vast, chaotic airflow. While Luo Feng and Morosa made their way to Purple Moon Holy Land universe, a gathering was taking place in the Pantheon Sanctuary of the virtual universe. The humans and other races from the Hong Alliance and various groups of powers, like the demons, the bugs, the Space Beast Alliance, the Ancestral God School, and even some of the Supreme Masters who were lone travelers like Sitting Mountain Guest, had gathered here. Silence. The most they did was exchange conversations via voice transmissions. The worry in their eyes and on their faces was difficult to conceal. This final battle concerned the life and death of all the races. If the news they received was a nightmare, that would mean all of them would be annihilated. Seated at the highest level, garbed in his white robe, Luo Feng's eyes were shut. No one dared to disturb him. Suddenly, Luo Feng opened his eyes. The many true gods had set aside a part of their thoughts to keep tabs on Luo Feng. At that moment, they all looked over. Even the many universe masters outside the Pantheon sanctuary got to their feet. They were all watching the great hall from afar. Anticipation filled their eyes as they all waited for Luo Feng to announce the outcome. "Dear all," he said. Luo Feng looked below, a smile suddenly broke out over his face. Just one smile, and right away, all the true gods below, and even the universe masters outside had an inkling of the answer. However, if they did not hear it straight from Luo Feng, could not rest assured of the certainty of the answer. One by one, they held their breath and stared hard at Luo Feng. They were all waiting for him to make the announcement. The final battle. We won. Luo Feng's voice rang loud and clear. The Sector Beast crisis is over. This reincarnation generation is still going to continue for several trillion eras. Fret not, everyone. All the true gods below cheered at the same time. Ha ha ha. Victory, victory. Great. We won. They were all top-tiered existences that stood at the peak of their own races, but at that moment, none of them could be bothered about proper conduct. The universe masters outside Pantheon Sanctuary were just as excited. Sitting Mountain Guest, who was seated below, looked at Luo Feng from afar. He, too, smiled. At long last, he could let out a sigh of relief. Luo Feng. Primal Chaos City leader turned to look at Luo Feng. Laughing had never felt more natural than it did now. My disciple, you have never disappointed me. The atmosphere was filled with jubilation. The various races all knew the outcome, and the news spread like wildfire. Even the handful of true gods from the first and second reincarnation eras who had lost their miniature universes and thus gone into hiding in Universe Ocean heard the news. It was a success. We pulled through. The others like Ju-Yi True God and Rampaging Devil God, who were scattered all over Universe Ocean, were extremely lonely. When they learned of the news, they were not very happy because their miniature universes and all their people had been exterminated. Now, they would spend their lives as lonely souls, waiting for Doomsday to arrive. Within East Emperor Holy Land Universe, East Emperor Ancestor was pacing the vast continent, watching the lives of his people. Have we pulled through? Some of his people were so weak that their lives would not even surpass 100 years. Traversing the great continent and seeing the life and death reincarnations, East Emperor Ancestor was already prepared, but the moment the news reached him, the joy in his heart simply could not be contained and came surging out. Ha ha ha, East Emperor Ancestor threw his head back and laughed heartily. He was laughing for himself as well as his own people. The entire East Emperor universe, including all the true gods and universe masters, were extremely excited. They were all rejoicing and celebrating because they had made it through this calamity. It was the same joyous atmosphere within the Purple Moon Holy Land universe. Not only were the universe masters and true gods getting emotional, but even Purple Moon Ancestor was delighted. I have extraordinary opportunities, said Purple Moon Ancestor. I am bound for great achievements. How can it be possible for me to meet my downfall in the face of this Sector Beast calamity? Purple Moon Ancestor was relaxed and happy. Then a glimmer of anger flashed in his eyes. That Luo Feng unexpectedly managed to stop this Sector Beast crisis from happening. His great potential is indeed intimidating. He will become my greatest opponent in the future. Why did he not perish along with the Sector Beasts? Forget it. Since he managed to survive this time around. Purple Moon Ancestor shook his head. Seems like I can only look forward to the future to see whether he is more powerful or I am more powerful. For now, I don't believe I will lose to him. Then Purple Moon Ancestor pushed aside all thoughts of Luo Feng. He joined his underlings as they all started their celebration banquet. Surviving a crisis was indeed a major event worthy of celebration. Just as all the higher-ups of Purple Moon Holy Land were happily celebrating, amidst the void space surrounding Purple Moon Holy Land universe, Star Tower appeared. Two figures walked out from the side door at the base of Star Tower. One of them was a man clad in silver armor, Luophone, and the other was a handsome king with a pair of curved horns, Morosa. Purple Moon Holy Land. Luophone looked into the distance at the gigantic miniature universe. It's time for annihilation. Both parties had long been sworn enemies. Would Luophone go easy on them? Morosa, how long will you need to swallow it all? Luophone asked persistently. I am different from the second stage and third stage sector beasts, Morosa said with a smile. My sector is now truly perfect. My ability to swallow naturally reached a new level high. It should be very fast, but I need to try before I will know exactly how long I will need. You may begin. Luophone instructed. Morosa nodded. It looked into the distance at Purple Moon Holy Land universe. Then its pair of horns suddenly shot out countless distorted white rays of light. The tip of each horn was like the source. Together, the tips of its two horns resembled the constellation Gemini. The tips of its horns were influencing one another, forming a strange gravitational force that completely shrouded the faraway Purple Moon Holy Land universe. Time and space trembled and vibrated, then became distorted. A dazzling radiance followed the countless distorted rays of light and crazily penetrated Morosa's body. Morosa became immeasurably dazzling, like a sun 1,000,000,000,000 times brighter than anything else. Luophone looked to his side at Morosa. The king of the sector beasts was so dazzling that Luophone could not clearly make out its features. How is it? He asked. Purple Moon Ancestor must be trying to use his willpower for additional power, as he tries his best to put up a resistance, Morosa said. This Purple Moon Holy Land universe is very big indeed. Such an extremely powerful origin. With the support of his own willpower, if I want to devour it, I would need some time. Probably around 1 day. 1 day? Luophone laughed. Second stage and third stage sector beasts would have required around 100,000 years to finish devouring everything. The king of the sector beast only required a day. This is the day I have been waiting for. Luophone laughed. Within the Purple Moon Holy Land universe, Purple Moon Ancestor had originally been seated high up above everyone else while the true gods and universe masters were helping themselves to delectable cuisine and fine wine, overjoyed as they conversed incessantly at loud volumes. But now, sector beasts are devouring? Ancestor, are you saying the sector beasts are devouring our Purple Moon Holy Land? How is that possible? The primal universe sent us a message informing us that the sector beast crisis is over, right? Hasn't Milky Way Horde leader gotten rid of all the sector beasts? There was an uproar among the crowd. Purple Moon Ancestor stood above them all, his face filled with anger as he shouted furiously at them, there are sector beasts devouring the origin of our Purple Moon Holy Land universe right now. This is my miniature universe, how would I not know? Could I be wrong with something like this? Hurry, send a message to those of us in the primal universe right away. Tell them. The sector beasts have yet to be exterminated, and they are attacking my miniature universe right now. Yes, Ancestor. Understood. Understood. The true gods and universe masters beneath him were flustered. They all started to transmit messages to the true gods in the primal universe. Purple Moon Ancestor stood way up high with a face filled with hostility. He was angry and anxious. His miniature universe was being devoured in a continuous manner, and the speed at which it was being devoured scared him. He was also fuming mad at Milky Way Horde leader Luophone, who had claimed that the sector beast calamity was over. Why were there sector beasts coming to devour his miniature universe again? Could it be that Luophone lost? Purple Moon Ancestor wondered to himself. He must have known everything would be exterminated. Could it be that, before the extermination, he has decided to go crazy and wantonly spread false news of his victory? Anyway, he will have to be exterminated if he lost, right? So, in his moment of insanity, he must have purposefully come up with such a ploy. Purple Moon Ancestor started to let his thoughts run wild in his anxiety. It had never occurred to him that a sector beast would become Luo Feng's slave. In light of this, Luo Feng had never publicized it. Even the groups of top powers from the primal universe were equally clueless about the fact that Luo Feng had enslaved a sector beast. In the virtual universe, at the Pantheon Sanctuary, true gods and universe masters from various races were all gathered. They were holding a grand ceremony to celebrate their victory over the sector beasts. They had stemmed the tide of the sector beast crisis. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader were seated at the topmost level. Joy and laughter filled the room. Suddenly, a voice resounded, saying, "The sector beasts have not been exterminated. The sector beasts are devouring Purple Moon Holy Land universe now." As the voice rang out, the entire Pantheon Sanctuary instantly fell silent. Yes, the sector beasts were not exterminated. There is already news coming from Purple Moon Holy Land. They are being attacked by the sector beasts, and the origin of Purple Moon Holy Land universe is currently being devoured. Purple Moon Holy Land is in the middle of being attacked by the sector beasts. There are still sector beasts around. There was an instant uproar within the Pantheon Sanctuary. Would Milky Way Horde leader lie? Everyone was on pins and needles. Space Beast Ancestor also voiced his concerns. Milky Way Horde leader, are the sector beasts completely wiped out, or are there still some surviving sector beasts? Nine Remoteness True Master was also worried. Milky Way, if there are remnants of the sector beasts roaming around, we must quickly get rid of them. Otherwise, when the few remaining sector beasts start to grow and develop, they will again impose a great threat on us. Dear all. Luo Feng looked down at everyone, and the moment he spoke, everyone quietened down. Rest assured, he said. The sector beast crisis is now over. If you don't believe me, you can ask the three ancestral gods. I believe the three ancestral gods will have received news from the willpower of the origin. They will know whether or not the sector beast crisis is over. Instantly, everyone within the Pantheon Sanctuary looked at the three ancestral gods. The three ancestral gods looked at one another. The old ancestral god spoke up. The sector beast crisis is, most certainly, a thing of the past. Period. Ha ha ha. We are relieved to hear what the ancestral god has said. The tense atmosphere within the Pantheon Sanctuary immediately eased up. However, there were still a handful of true gods asking, why would Purple Moon Holy Land say that the sector beasts are attacking their Holy Land universe? Luo Feng looked down. It is not an attack from the sector beasts. It's me. I am the one attacking. It will not take long for Universe Ocean to be forever rid of Purple Moon Holy Land. This video will end here.